gonna take over from here.
Okay, lots to talk about. So, Rachel talked about the TIMs, the tsunami inundation maps, the more detailed ones on the wall. The evacuation maps or brochures that you came to pick up tonight, there's 7 of them. This is an overview map on the right showing the areas covered by those maps. We pretty much covered most of the county. There is an area south of Seaside that does not have its own map. If you live in that section of the coast, you just go to our website, OregonTsunami.org, and there's a thing called the Evacuation Zone Map Viewer. You click on that and type in your address, and you'll get the same information in a web-based map. So, this is what some of our older evacuation maps look like. These are a few examples from down in Douglas County. What you can see about these is that there are just there's really just the one zone in yellow, which incorporates both the distant and the local tsunami. And then high ground, of course, is shown in green. We've updated those with a lot of good new mapping methodology, and this is the Warrenton map. You can see there's also at the top right, there's a legend that will show you some key features. I'll talk about that more in a second. On the back of the maps, there's a lot of good tips about what to know about tsunamis and what to do in a tsunami. And the maps were basically made with a lot of community input. We had several map review meetings with local police, fire, planners, and other officials. And they not only helped us correct street names that were wrong or other information that came out of the GIS database incorrectly, but they told us, here's where you should direct people to walk. Go north in this case, go south in this case. And here's where we want to place assembly areas. An assembly area is a temporary place for folks to go to and gather immediately after the earthquake to know that they've reached high ground, and it's a place where first responders can know to look for them after the tsunami. So it could be a church parking lot, a city park, an elementary school, outside the school. It's not to be confused with an evacuation center, which is an indoor place established after the earthquake happens and after officials and Red Cross can say, hey, the building is still safe to enter. We're going to set up this high school gymnasium as an evacuation center. Just back up one second. The maps also show bridges, which is really important because many of those will fail. They might be safe to walk over in some cases, but a lot of them will not be safe to drive over. And we also show, of course, hospitals, schools, and for communities who use tsunami sirens, we also show those locations. So I just wanted to zoom in a little bit more on the Warrenton map. This is the northern section of it. You can see high ground here, kind of running north to south, and where we established some assembly areas. This is actually a campground, if I'm not mistaken, which kind of looks like an A from this perspective. KOA, yep. And your community has some of these evacuation route signs, but we're also working with local communities to provide more of these where they're needed. Here's the Clatsop Spit. You can see a lot of inundation from a distant tsunami coming from an earthquake in Alaska in orange there. And we always like to show our little pyramid guy because this helps explain how high to go, which kind of event. And the southern portion of the Warrenton map. There's a lot going on here. Plenty of high ground over here. And again, estuaries, rivers, and creeks. Watch out. So, all this information and more, plus the interactive map viewer that I mentioned, is on our website at OregonTsunami.org. Events calendar, tsunami news, lots of good resources for communities and teachers and kids and visitors. And check it out if you haven't been there yet. That's the interactive map viewer where you can type in your address. And it's also available on the next slide as a smartphone app. It's free, and it's called Tsunami Evac NW. You can download that to your smartphone. But please look at it and practice your route before the earthquake, because those cell towers are probably going to be down. And we'll wrap up tonight just by quickly telling you how you can get involved. The purpose of this work is not just to produce shiny new maps, although that's really the foundation of it in some ways. It's to make these maps come alive, for people to read them, absorb them, and incorporate them into their lives. And that's really about building a local culture of preparedness and response. And we do that through the maps. We do it through getting communities to be designated as Tsunami Ready, which is a terrific program from the National Weather Service. And we do it through grassroots outreach and education, which Leanne Thompson and others in the community are working on. We're having 3 more of these readiness rallies in the next week or so. Tell your friends and neighbors to the east and to the south. Astoria this Saturday at 10 a.m., Classic Community College. Seaside, Earhart next Thursday evening at Broadway Middle School, and Arch Cape on Saturday the 29th at the fire station. There's a few flyers on the back table, I think, and if we run out of those, you can go to our website and click on the calendar and get those details. So something we've been working with our local partners on is trying to schedule some door-to-door outreach for this fall. We've done this in other communities. This is actually year 4 of a Tsunami mapping and outreach program. And we've gone door-to-door in communities up and down the Oregon coast to say hello face-to-face to folks who live in the danger zone, hand them a green bag with all this good information, including a new map, and just having a conversation saying, hey, have you thought about this? Do you have friends and family who might care about this? Do you want to be the responsible person for your community? It gets a conversation going, and it starts sometimes with fear, but then it moves to action and understanding, and then really relaxation. Because we live in a beautiful part of the world, we want to enjoy it, we absorb this information, and then we kind of move on. So that's, you can sign up tonight to volunteer as a Tsunami Smart Neighbor if you'd like to help out with this effort early this fall. And it's pretty easy and fun, and we'll train you and all that good stuff, and it doesn't take much time. A lot of communities are also putting on evacuation drills where they can practice this stuff and go to high ground on foot and gather at their assembly area. We just had a number of these down south in late May, and we're talking to local fire districts and others about scheduling these, hopefully for this October when the Great Oregon Shakeout happens. And that's a statewide earthquake and tsunami drill that we do on October 17th at 10:17 in the morning. Another great way to get involved is through CERT, the Community Emergency Response Teams that are part of the fire districts. They educate folks about disaster preparedness and give them some basic skills to respond. Because like I say, those first responders are going to be overwhelmed right after the earthquake, and it's going to be you counting on your neighbors and friends and your immediate community to help each other out. So if you're not a CERT member, consider getting trained on it and joining the network of CERTs. Another great program is Map Your Neighborhood. This is a simple booklet. We've got some copies on the back table of 9 quick steps to literally map your neighborhood and find out, is there a vulnerable person in a house nearby who needs help to evacuate? Maybe somebody in a wheelchair. Who has a wrench to turn off the gas line so we don't get fires after the earthquake happens? Who has first aid skills? Who's got maybe some extra food and water? Who's got the keg of beer? I mean, the list goes on of resources that you may want in a disaster like this. And so what they found in Japan was that in communities where people already knew each other and had relationships face-to-face, they fared much better because they didn't have to go through all the introductions and the get to know you, and they just really did a lot better. So Map Your Neighborhood tries to knit communities together, and it's a quick, simple program, so pick up a thing in the back. And then lastly, talk to your friends and neighbors, get ready at home, work, and school. Probably the best thing you can buy for yourself is an LED headlamp to keep next to your bed. Because is it wet and dark in Oregon about 80% of the year? Yes. An LED headlamp will help you find high ground when an earthquake happens in the middle of the night, and you will become literally a beacon of light to save dozens of lives. Honestly, people will follow you if you know where to go. Hopefully you do. And you will be the light source in more ways than one to save lives and get them to high ground. So consider a headlamp. They're cheap. You can pick them up at a camping store or a hardware store. And then lastly, the last bullet point there is to get emergency notifications by phone through this terrific Clatsop County Clatsop Alerts. You can get notifications by phone, cell, email, text, and so on whenever there's something like an earthquake, tsunami, or a major storm event. How many of you actually are signed up for this and get these? Okay, that's good. You have to opt in. It's if you have a landline telephone, I think it's automatic and it will notify you. It's kind of a reverse 911. But so many of us use cell phones these days, and so if you sign up for this, you'll have the peace of mind that you can get notified when these things happen. So with that, I'll say thank you, and we'll open it up to questions and conversation.
No.